I believe, responsible for connecting General Catalyst to Snapchat.
Right.
You reached out to Evan Spiegel, the CEO of Snapchat, on LinkedIn while he was still at school at Stanford, right?
That's right.
And that's how you started the relationship. Because you're like, hey, man.
That's right.
And you actually post screen grabs of the LinkedIn exchange that you have with him, which I thought was
That's right.
really cool. You also you also show that that's how you initially contacted or interacted with your bride to be. I noticed as well.
That's right. She replied to a mass LinkedIn invitation for a networking event that myself and a few others were organizing. Yes, and she replied and said, "I will attend this event."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how I first heard, from her.
So LinkedIn is incredibly useful to you. But what was it about Snapchat that made you think, well, I'm going to just cold call this guy?
Well, at the time, it was a tiny little, student-led startup
What
out
year
of
was
Stanford.
that?
This was in 2012.
Okay.
So I was hearing from a number of people from the Stanford community about the product and the founder. I didn't know if it was a company back then, but I was hearing from a number of people that, oh my God, this founder is a product genius. He's going to do great things. So maybe you want to talk to him and see if he's interested in any of your portfolio companies. Mm-hmm. And then I was hearing from other people who had used Snapchat because Snapchat came out of a class project. And they were like, oh, this is a joke. It's like a silly product. Why would ever, anybody want to send disappearing photos? But people, still talked about it. Clearly, nobody was using it within the Stanford community, but both the product as well as the founder were controversial. And I like, whenever I hear about anything, that's controversial, I like it because clearly it makes people care. And as a result, they talk about it. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I was spending a lot of time on the Stanford campus, trying, to serve as the next big thing. So I emailed Evan and asked him, to meet with me. And when I first met him, I also, started talking to others who were Snapchat users and had known him through their Stanford years. But yeah, that's why I reached out. I was hearing a bunch of stuff about him and the product, good and bad. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, such a young guy and such a young company got people, to talk about him and his product. Maybe there's something there.
Mm-hmm. Well, so what did you think was there beyond just the noise of the controversy? How did you know that Snapchat, or did you know that Snapchat would be more than a place for disappearing sexting videos and photos? How did you know it would be what it is today?
Yeah, a few things, and nobody knew that it would, get to 150 million daily active users in 4 years, right? Like nobody knew that, or nobody knew that it would become, the company helping, create and own the selfie revolution. But the few things that were there back then, Evan's vision, was there from the beginning. He wanted to make everybody smile whenever they interacted with their product. So he was, pretty adamant about that. In terms of the technology, he wanted to build the fastest camera app out there. And I think, Snapchat, is indeed, fulfilling that promise. And in the early days, the only thing that you could do was to create, like a snap. You can do, pretty much anything else. So like it was really, the fastest camera app out there. Then the comment that he made at the time, which was, pretty cool, was, hey, human communication on digital media is not really natural because everything, gets recorded and everything often takes a long time because, people would have to text and say, I'm here, I'm having a good time with my friend. And whereas, on Snapchat, just one photo and boom, it contains all this information and then it goes away like real human communication. Like you and I are having a conversation right now, but in 30 minutes, You will do something else. I
Sure.
will do something else. All this is gone. So he was talking about that stuff, since then, which we hadn't heard, from somebody else. Till then, it was all about getting more data about the user, permanent record, building a big graph, all that stuff. The last thing was the metrics. So when he gave us access, the company's metrics, it was very early days, but 20%, of the users were using it over 50 times a day.
Yeah, it's addictive.
And when you see something like that, you're like, oh my God, clearly some people are getting a lot of value. And it wasn't for sexting because 80% of the users back then were women.
Okay.
So unless, became a thing, had become a thing, among the, lesbian community, would have been probably, only used for sexting, but clearly it wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm. So you saw beyond just the media story. That was what it was about.
Yeah. What we didn't know, of course, is we didn't know that the timing was absolutely perfect, because when it came out, the iPhone at the time, for the first time, had a high quality front-facing camera. So it basically, it was a perfect storm. It enabled people to take all these selfies, became the app for selfies, and, there's no ceiling to vanity.
Sure.
No.